Hello everyone, this is Chad from Good Creative Tutorial. Today I want to go over the type tool in Photoshop. Go ahead and open up an image, or you can just go to File, New in Photoshop, and just create an image that is large enough to work with. You could do US paper, you could do a web preset, any of those will work as long as you have an area to work with to add some text. Next you want to select the type tool. You can press T on the keyboard, or you can just click it on the toolbar. And if you don't see this, just go to Window, then Tools. Now if you click and hold onto the T, the type tool, you'll see a couple more options. The default is horizontal type tool, and I'm going to go over that one first. So if you go ahead and just click somewhere, you don't have to click and drag, just click and let go, and type in some text right here. And you'll notice it goes from the left to the right, of course, but it will go all the way off the canvas. There's no text box here because I didn't click and drag initially. The cool thing, though, is you can select the Move tool on the top of the toolbar and make sure Show Transform Controls is selected. And you can click and drag the corner and resize this text without having to change the font size up top. Of course, you can distort it horizontally or vertically, so you do need to hold Shift on the keyboard if you want to maintain the correct proportion with the height. You do need to hit Enter or Return to apply those changes. Otherwise, if you say choose another tool, it'll say, hey, do you want to apply that transformation? So you just hit Apply, or you can just press Enter or Return. And you can move that around, and it creates a new type layer on the Layers pane. You'll see it over here. If you don't have that, just go to Window, then Layers. So that's how to add some text pretty quickly that you don't have a set area you need to put it in, and you want to resize it quickly with the Move tool. Another way to insert some text is to create a text box. So go ahead and select the type tool again and just click and drag an area out. And now you'll notice as I type it in, it keeps it constrained in that area of the text box that we have. And now if I click and drag the corner with the type tool, all it does is it changes the text box where it is. So it affects what text is on what line. It doesn't resize it. If you choose the Move tool and click and drag the edge, now it will resize it. All right. So it depends on if you have a set area you want the text to stay in, then you'd want to click and drag out an area first. Now if you notice when you have some of the text up here highlighted, or just when you have the type tool selected, you have some options up here. So you can change it from orientation from horizontal and the vertical type tool. Same thing here, even after the fact you can change it. I'll go over that in a second, but don't use that too often. You can change the font here. You can just click that down. Of course, we could select a different font, but as I hover over it, it does preview over here and actually changes it because I'm selecting it. All right. You can also just select one, say, I'll just select one of these. So you're highlighting it up here and press the up and down arrow on the keyboard, and it will cycle through those. That's another way to change it, and you can watch the changes as you go through. Notice here there's some formatting like bold, italic, regular, light italic, light, bold, italic, and then of course the size, which we changed earlier just with the Move tool. You can manually change the size here as well, of course, to many different presets. You can also type a preset in there. So if you see here and there's 12 points and 14 point, 18, what if you want 16 point? Then you can just type that in, 16, and then enter return, and it will change it. You can also, if you click on this area where it says none, sharp, crisp, strong, smooth, that's just the anti-aliasing. So if you do none, it's going to have a definite border to it that's not really soft. And if you try sharp, crisp, strong, smooth, it just softens the edge a little bit of the text. There's some basic alignment options here. You can left align, you can center align, you can right align. You can change the color if you click the box there, color of the text. You can also do some word art. So if you click that there and then just do, say, arc, and you don't have to have it selected. I mean, I just had a it will affect not just the selected text, but it will select the entire, it'll affect the entire text box. But you can play around with that, and they have different options depending on what kind of look you're going for, a lot of presets, and then you can adjust the bend, the horizontal distortion, and then the vertical distortion. And if you click this here, it will bring out the character, or you can go to Window, then Character. There's two different ways to get to it. But this are some of the same options that you see up here. So you see 16-point font size, 16-point font size. It has leading here as well, or leading. That's just the horizontal spacing. So if you bring that up, auto is just going to do it whatever corresponds to the font size that we have selected. So if I do, say, 30, oops, let me select all of that. So if I do 30, it'll make it a little bit higher. And if I do 6-point, it actually runs into each other. All right. So the default is auto. And then you can also adjust the kerning here. Kerning is, let's say you had a title and the first letter was a little bit close to the second letter. Just click once so your cursor is blinking in between the two letters, and then you can change it right here. So if I did -75 or +75, you'll notice it adds or removes some of the space in between, and by default it's at 0. Tracking is the same thing, but if you just click and drag an entire paragraph or a word or a sentence, you can then affect the spacing between all the letters in that selected text. So if I did -100, then it changes the space in there. If I do +100, you can see how it affects it there. And again, default is 0. There's a couple other options here, and you can practice with this with the vertical and horizontal, kind of distorts it a little bit. And then there's a couple formatting things down here that you do have up there. Like if you hover over it and just let your mouse stay there, it's like faux bold, faux italic, all caps. Some of these, like the bold right here, is also right up here. But then the options bar doesn't have all these more advanced settings like strike through and things like that. So you can also go to the paragraph panel while you're there. And these are the three that are available up on the options bar: left aligned, centered, right aligned. But you can also have full justification, then the last line is left justified. That's like you've seen a lot of magazines or newspapers or online publications. It stretches or compresses the text so it fits across the text box or the column. And then you have indents from the left or right, and then you have a indent from the first line. So you have a couple other options there, and whether or not it hyphenates. So it's not as advanced in text flowing as, say, InDesign is, but it actually has a lot more than a lot of people think as far as text flow and text formatting. All right. Once you have those changes made, you can resize this, and you can apply all that. And if you've made a change you want to apply it, you can hit that check mark there, and then it deselects, and it's not, you have to select it again with the type tool. Another hint is if you have this cursor at the end, if I just hit enter or return, it goes to the next line, right? Now if you just want to apply this, you don't hit enter, you just press Control on the PC or Command on the Mac and then enter, and that applies it just like as if we were pressing that check mark there. You can make this larger and it won't pixelate like, say, a rasterized layer would, but if you right click over the text layer and go to rasterize type, see, now it's actual pixels. So if I made it larger now, it's not like a vector. See, now it'll start to pixelate, you'll see. All right, so I'll hit escape. But the advantage of that is if you just wanted to treat them like pixels instead of editable text. Like right now I can't select it with the type tool anymore because I've rasterized it. So if you use, let's say, the eraser tool and just click and drag, then you can erase part of it, and it is just pixels, right? So you couldn't do that if I just had a regular type layer, right? And then I used the eraser. See, it's got that cross out sign. So we can't do that until we rasterize it. All right, so it's a little bit more editable. Depending on the context, what you're trying to do, you might try that. Now, if you choose the type tool again, but click and hold on to it, and go to the vertical type tool, now if I click and drag here, this is some text. It just goes vertically and also from right to left, so it kind of goes backward. If you choose that by accident, you can always click up here, and it will change it to the other one. All right. And I misspelled that. So those are those two tools, the basics of them. You can also click and hold and go to the horizontal type mask tool. So I'll show you what that does. If I just click somewhere, text, and then as soon as I choose another tool or press Control or Command Enter or Return, then it just makes a selection of where our text was. So you could fill it, you could press Alt Backspace or Option Delete on the Mac, and it would fill the text. It is rasterized, so it's filled with color, and it is not a vector, type layer. It is rasterized already, and you'll notice it didn't create a new type layer when we clicked it in. It actually put it on our background layer. So that is on the same layer. So if I double clicked it to make it a normal layer, it's moving it around with that layer. It's not on its own layer by default. And the vertical type mask tool is the same thing, but if you click, it's just going to bring it in vertically. All right, it makes a selection, and then I just use the move tool and I actually moved those pixels. So that's the basics of the type tool.